Alrighty. Don't forget, call our friends, Welt and Rheaume. The consultation is completely free. And when it comes to Jeff Welt and Daniel Rheaume, a lot of our listeners have already, you know, actually experienced it like we did, and they crushed Progressive. So make sure you call them 954 966 4646. How you feeling, my man? You feeling good?
I'm doing well. Happy to have another Friday and have Super Bowl Sunday on the verge here.
Yeah. Are you where do you stand on the Hall of Fame voting? Because I was talking about it for me, people, oh, I don't know if Eli belongs there or that, this, that. To me, Eli is it's like no doubt he's a Hall of Famer. If he doesn't get in first ballot or whatever, I can live with it, but I have no problem. You get him in eventually, next shot, third shot, whatever. I look at all the people he played with, and he really did not play with stars offensively. Yeah, he had a great defense, a line, and all that, but you still had to make plays, and he made names out of them. And I think Vinatieri eventually will get in, and Kuechly will get in, but the four that they picked were elite players, and I have no problem with it. So your thoughts on the Eli controversy and then the Hall of Fame voting overall this year?
Sure. Yeah. Eli Manning, I feel he should get into the Hall of Fame eventually. I'm definitely okay with him not being a first ballot. Didn't need him on the first ballot because there were inconsistencies over the years in his game. Sometimes he had some very down years, but when he was at his best, though, he beat Tom Brady and the Patriots twice, including preserving the Dolphins as the one.
Giants were at their best, right? When the Giants, because at the back end of his career, the Giants weren't the best.
Oh, no.
The Giants were at their best in his era. He was his best, right?
Yeah, but he also had down years himself. I remember watching some Giants games, and then I have my sister-in-law. Her sister's husband. I don't know what that makes him on family trees, but he's a Giants fan from New York. And then I remember like one Thanksgiving, the Giants were on the night game, and him being so frustrated with Eli Manning that year, in a year that was just atrocious for the Giants. So he was inconsistent for a lot of his career.
But my point is, a lot of that was his teams weren't very good either at times. When he was inconsistent, his teams were inconsistent at times. Shit, the coach was in the hot seat and everything. They had to change coaches too on the back end of his career. So there were issues there. That's why when he had a badass team with not a great offense, by the way, with receivers and tight ends, he didn't play with anybody special in those spots, and he made the plays.
Yeah. Plaxico Burress, very serviceable in his time. Started off with Jeremy Shockey, but then I remember he was injured for the Super Bowl where they beat the undefeated Patriots. Kevin Boss later, but not huge names. You mentioned Mario Manningham right before we were getting on, but good running backs in Tiki Barber and Brandon Jacobs for sure. So good run games, good defenses that they had. That Giants defense that would do the bowling thing that season, which Calais Campbell was emulating. I wrote a story on that this year. He was bringing that back because he's trying to go out on top the way Michael Strahan did with that 07 team's Super Bowl 42 win against the Patriots. But I'm totally okay with Eli Manning not getting in on the first ballot, but I think eventually he should, because at his peak and the Giants' peak, he beat Tom Brady twice, which is saying a lot, including the undefeated team, which was 18-0 going into that game. What were they, 2 touchdown underdogs in the Super Bowl? Going into that one, which is just absurd. And and made the clutch plays, late drive to win that game. So definitely those are monumental moments in NFL history that definitely should be honored with him getting into Canton. As far as the rest of the class, personally, I would have liked to see at wide receiver Reggie Wayne over Sterling Sharp. Now, Sterling Sharp's numbers, career numbers, I know, you have to give me a history lesson on where his career numbers lacked. I think he had injuries and such. It was
Yeah,
before I really started watching too much, but I know he had a huge 3, maybe 4 year window where he was just elite. But
neck
overall body
injury,
of work, I would have said Reggie Wayne.
neck injury. I believe was that ended his career. Sterling Sharp was a monster, bro. An absolute freaking monster. Both Sharps were amazing. I believe it was a neck injury that shortened his career. He was easily a Hall of Famer, and it's taken him a while to get in, but he was special, bro. He,
Okay.
he was Luke Kuechly in a way.
Yeah, short career,
Luke,
but very productive.
no, actually, Luke Kuechly had a pretty long career considering all the concussions because he kept coming back and kept. But a lot of his
But he
seasons
retired early. I remember it was a little bit of a stunner when he retired because people.
didn't he get to double digits? Didn't he considering all the damn concussions? How many seasons did Luke Kuechly play? Let me see. Let me see here. Let me see what Luke Kuechly played because 8-year career. 8-year,
yeah, 7-time Pro Bowl in those games. Yeah.
and right, and 4 of those probably were shortened by concussions and all that, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Sterling Sharp, it's the same thing. With Gale Sayers, it's the same thing. These people were, Terrell Davis. I know that one he probably won't get in, but these people were so special. It's just that the injuries cut him short, but Sharp was a monster, like a monster, dominant.
Right. Yeah. And everything I hear, indicates that. I would just comparing body of work with Reggie Wayne, and maybe I'm partial
to. You can't.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I mean Reggie should get in eventually. Like the other Canes did.
Everything you're saying makes 100% sense.
Yeah.
That Reggie Wayne.
I get you. Yeah.
Reggie Wayne deserves to get in. His stats are better. He had a complete career. He has a championship, all that kind of stuff. I'm with you. I think they did it because it's been so long for Sterling, and then the window's going to close, and then the whole senior committee crap and all that kind of stuff. And because he is a Gale Sayers, because he is a Luke Kuechly, because he is a Terrell Davis type, he's one of those dudes that you're like, dude, that was a Hall of Fame player. I don't give a shit how short his career was or whatever. Well, I know special when I see it. Like anybody that watched Sterling Sharp goes, oh, no. That guy was Hall of Fame. That's monster. You know what I'm saying? And that's what that's why I think they're doing it, because it's been a while. And if not, that door may close forever on his ass because people won't be able to appreciate him at all.
Yeah. So I get it. Yeah, I get him being in there. Now, though, from Reggie's perspective, then I look at next year's class. Larry Fitzgerald is eligible for the first time, and he's got to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. So, so then it'll be tougher on Reggie again. But eventually, he'll be the one where, like Sterling Sharp in this class, voters will say, we got to make sure we get him in, and eventually we're running out of time. So I'm confident that he'll eventually get in. But also I think of like when Zach Thomas got in the year before that, he was not in, and it was Sam Mills who got in as a linebacker, Carolina Panther. And I remember that was his last year of eligibility. So I felt voters wanted to make sure they got him in. And then next year they did Zach Thomas the solid and made sure to get him in, even though Thomas had the numbers in comparison to Mills.
Yeah, I think that's what's going on. It's pure respect, and anybody that watched Sterling Sharp knows that dude was an absolute monster. All right, so what are you hearing in the Dolphins front? How are they preparing for free agency?
Yeah, I think Chris Grier certainly has to now invest something, like he said, in the interior of the offensive line, and guard is going to be at the forefront of everyone's minds, along with, of course, as we've mentioned ad nauseum, backup quarterback position. So I'm looking at the O-line. you got to find at least one quality starter at guard somewhere in there. And yeah, once you get to the draft and you can use some of those 10 draft picks, I don't think the first one, although maybe they could get some versatile linemen like a Campbell who can be maybe a guard to start off, but then eventually work his way to tackle if other things don't work out in the long term with either projected starter in the future there. So I look there. Obviously, safety. The Dolphins need to find 2 starters, and you could get one maybe in the draft as well. But with Javon Holland likely on his way out, looking at a big lucrative contract somewhere else where he's likely to find it somewhere in free agency. And then Jordan Poyer, I don't know where his mind is at, where he's probably looking to retire. But either way, I don't think for the Dolphins you would probably want to bring him back. But or I'm saying you probably wouldn't want to bring him back either way after the season he had. Even though we heard all these things from coaches about how much they liked his presence on the field, you can see how he has lost a step. And those angles that he used to take don't quite get him to the ball carrier the way they used to. So those are the positions I'm primarily looking at: is find a starting guard, find at least one starting safety, get your backup quarterback in order, and then in the draft you can really be in a position of best player available, and you're not really having to fill holes, which you never should take that approach early in the draft, but sometimes that temptation is there when you really have glaring weaknesses. Or also let me include a D-line in there as well. When you have an aging group, you might not be able to bring Calais Campbell back. Zach Sealer, obviously, he's already now. It took him so long to first establish himself in the NFL, where it doesn't feel like he's that old, but now he's getting up there as well. Although producing at such a high level, so you need players around him to get that push up front.
So I'm going to ask you a completely unfair question right now. Have you looked into guard and defensive tackles in free agency? I ask you because we're still at a point where people can be re-signed, and so we really don't know who's going to be a free agent completely. We may have an idea of one guy here or one guy there or something, but we really don't have the free agent list yet. But Miami will be able to spend on a free agent or two in whatever spot they want, whether it's a defensive tackle, whether it's a guard or something like that. Have you started to look in that area? Are there any names, as the late, great Jim Mandich would say, are there any names that make your toes tingle that may become free agents? Again, unfair question. I apologize.
Yeah, no, I not big time have I really looked into everything because so much can change. And then you say you set your eyes on some guys, and then it's like, well, then they just end up re-signing before free agency kicks in, and then they were never available.
That's why I don't like talking about it either myself. Yeah. But I'm wondering if you know of a disgruntled situation or a situation that this person definitely is headed out the door because, Patrick Paul's taking over at left tackle. So Teron Armstead, if he ever even decided to come back, which I doubt it, but if he does, he's probably going to be more of a mentor or swing tackle or something like that. He's not really going to be, because you cannot count on that man anymore, and you cannot develop Patrick Paul by playing him on and off. So if you have that kind of a situation somewhere out there that the incumbent has to leave, okay, what's the deal? That's why I asked if there's somebody already you're targeting.
Well, no, hold on, because I heard Teron Armstead's interview with Pro Football Talk yesterday, and the way he was talking, it sounded like, he was saying this, we as the Dolphins looking ahead into 2025. It sounds a lot like he wants to come back and fix these things, these deficiencies on the team. He said that the team needs an edge going into 2025, and largely referring to it as we, where it feels like, and I don't know, maybe that's not what he meant to say, but it seems like at least where his mind is leaning toward, I do want to come back.
No, this is what happened, bro. He's a classy individual. He's a super, super decent human being. He is legally still under contract with the Miami Dolphins until the beginning of March. So he knows as a professional He is presenting himself as we because he likes the Dolphins overall and all of that. But in no way was that meaning any kind of future tense, because in that interview he never talked about. In fact, if anything, his success by having his music picked up by movies, and specifically one big movie that's coming up, you know, I think that it inspires him to start going into a new direction. But I think what you saw there was a professional closing a chapter in a professional manner, unlike what you watched with the Miami Heat and Jimmy Butler, who closes every chapter in the most unprofessional manner that exists out there. Okay, so there's a way of carrying yourself, and Teron Armstead carries himself in a professional manner till the last day of his contract. And then he will then, in a professional manner, talk about his life moving forward. That's what happened yesterday.
That's a good point too. So there's probably multiple ways to look at it. The way a lot of people took it, the way I was saying.
He gave us some meat yesterday, but I'm not going to do it on this segment. I'm going to do it later. But he gave us some meat on the bone yesterday that was just absolutely delicious, and I will talk about it.
Okay. Yeah.
What's the Super Bowl prediction for you, bro? Chiefs are favored by 1.5. The over and under is 48.5. Chiefs minus 120 on the money line. The Eagles are plus 100. What are you picking? What are you picking one way? And if the points are in play, then how are you going to go also?
Yeah, well, see, my mind keeps telling me I'm going to regret this, but I am going with the underdog Eagles in the Super Bowl. So,
a lot of people.
From a couple standpoints. Yeah, and it's not like they're big underdogs either. But from a couple standpoints, well, for one, all right, there's never been a three-peat Super Bowl champion. So going off of that, I got it where the Chiefs aren't going to be the first to do it. Not these Chiefs right now. I know Vic Fangio has an 0-8 record in his career against Patrick Mahomes. Now, those were with a lot of bad Broncos teams. And then the Dolphins last year, one of those playoff game in sub-zero temperatures. Another one in Germany. He didn't have the greatest teams to go up against Patrick Mahomes. And Mahomes probably has records like that against a lot of people. I think with this Eagles defense, he stands a much better shot at it. With Saquon Barkley, the run that he's on, the way he can control a game, control time of possession. If Jalen Hurts is also in that run game with him, and if he's throwing, because we mentioned in the NFC Championship game how he hasn't been a good passer, but if he brings it the way he did in that NFC Championship game against Washington, and can also complement the ground game the Eagles have between him and Saquon.
He's an athletic Trent Dilfer. Just make a couple of throws, kid. Don't F it up. That's basically what.
If he does that, then I like the Eagles' chances. And then also with so much talk about the officiating that the Chiefs get in their favor and it being under such a microscope, I could totally see it where the refs are conscious of this in the Super Bowl. There's going to be so many eyes on this game, and everyone knows that the perception is the Chiefs get all the favorable calls. Maybe if there's some close calls, they got to go the other way. They have it in the back of their head that you can't keep giving the Chiefs every call that could go either way. Maybe the Eagles get a call or two because the refs know they don't want that criticism of, well, the Chiefs every game, every playoff game, Patrick Mahomes gets all the calls.
All right. So you got the Eagles. I got the Chiefs. I'm going Chiefs. I'm going with the best head coach on the field. I'm going with the best quarterback on the field. I'm going with the best defensive player on the field, which is Chris Jones. There is no better defensive player on the field. And we just talked about Eli Manning. Who was the defensive coordinator that stifled Tom Brady? Oh, it was Steve Spagnuolo. Oh, okay. I'm going to go with the best defensive coordinator on the field. So it's interesting. I got the two best players on offense and defense.
Oh, you said best defensive coordinator. Okay, so yeah, you also got him ahead of Vic Fangio.
I'm sorry. Is there an argument here?
Big Fangio did have the number one defense this year.
Does Vic Fangio have trophies? Like lots of them?
No.
Does he have
In a lot of years, he does not have them. Yeah.
Does he have the trophies with multiple teams?
No.
Oh, okay. So there is no argument, right? I mean, Steve
Big
Spagnuolo,
Dean, defensive coordinator.
Steve Spagnuolo is the best defensive coordinator of this era. Of the last 10, 15 years here, he's the best defensive coordinator. He beat the best quarterback ever. Now he plays with the best quarterback that might be the next best quarterback ever. So now you gave him the best quarter. I'm going with the best defensive coordinator. I'm going with the best head coach and the best offensive coordinator. I'm going with the best quarterback, and I'm going with the best defensive player on the field in Chris Jones. Okay. Oh, by the way, I'm going to go with the best secondary too, because they got two rookie corners, and I like KC's secondary also. So I go.
Yeah. Eagles got a mean secondary too, but I get it. Yeah, two rookies. So, they've held up well to this point, but they didn't face as much competition going through the NFC as the Chiefs obviously did, and the AFC having to beat the Bills.
They didn't face Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes, bro. So that's where it becomes all kinds of crazy right now, So I don't know.
The Chiefs haven't won in very impressive fashion consistently. They pull out a close game, so yeah, which you figure it's going to be a close game, but eventually that's got to catch up with you. You got to think.
Well, see, here's the problem with that thinking that you just threw out there. Do you expect them every year to blow everybody else out when every year you keep winning and adding a Super Bowl and you're getting everybody's best every single week because beating you is like the highlight of their entire career, not just the season. So we got to understand that the Chiefs are like, they're such a monster now, and you're so spoiled at watching them win that now you have set some standard and expectation that is just unrealistic because this is professional football and everybody wants to get the Chiefs. And so when they're playing whoever, that team is going to be at its best because they know if you're not at your best, you will have no chance at beating these people. So now we're taking it for granted what they've been doing for years because they're not doing it with style points. Whereas at this point, they've been at this so long, they're fucking grinding like the Bulls. They're grinding to add another champ. It's not easy, bro. It's not easy. And so I think sometimes we take for granted the accomplishment itself because we're adding style points on it. We need it to be a Picasso every time when, you know what, bro, sometimes it's just going to be preschool, but we got it done.
But not every time, but every now and then blow somebody out. The Chiefs have been playing close games every week all season, it feels like. So because in any era, there is a team that is like those Chiefs now that they've got the target on their back. Everyone's bringing their best when they play them. But that team will still every now and then blow somebody out because they're just that much better and they're executing that day at a high level and they force the other team into poor execution. So, but yeah, you really haven't seen it from the Chiefs this year. They should have at least blown some of these games away, but you haven't seen it. Yeah, there's one chance for it to catch up to them though, so you just got to get to the finish line.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen. Sometimes you look at it, and let me give you an example here. 20-10, 34-13, 16-14, 27-17, 24-10, 24-23, 23-0, 30-16, 52-0, 28-24, 31-10, 37-21, 23-13, and 16-0. That was the undefeated Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
So they played some close games.
Several close games, yeah. But there were also some blowouts,
and that's an undefeated team. And they played some close ones, and they played some. They had a couple blowouts too. There, you know what I'm saying? It's just, I think sometimes I think that the fact that I think we're so spoiled with the Chiefs and their exceptional play that we just kind of like we don't accept just winning. The beauty of winning, the beauty of putting up another look. We're Dolphins fans, and we don't see this kind of stuff. And the beauty of putting up another 13, 14, 15 win season, man, that kind of shit cannot be taken for granted. And they're here in another Super Bowl again. That grind to be able to look at the Panthers now. They went to the Stanley Cup, they lost. Now they went back to the Stanley Cup and won. And now they're trying to get back again. And if they're able to get to that, oh my God, to do it 3 years in a row, that's torturous, dude.
Oh, that's a massive grind. Playing the final game of every season, like we saw the toll that it took on the Heat that went 4 straight NBA Finals. I mean, you're playing 2 more months at high level every other day, high stakes type of game. Not like the regular season where you can take some off nights and you got some load management that you could work in here and there. That's playoff of whatever sport you're talking for 2 more months. You know, for the Chiefs now, it's 3 extra games because they did have the bye, but high leverage situations. And yeah, that takes a toll when you're playing that final game every year, year in and year out, getting all the way there. So it's vastly impressive for sure. But it's also okay to have some expectations that they should run away with a couple games with how good they are.
Yeah, but not with this Eagles team. No way. They're too good at the lines.
Right.
It's something that the Dolphins organization needs to learn, that they've got to win at the line of scrimmage on offense and defense. It's the only way you're ever going to compete. Follow him on Twitter at David Furones _. Catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Better yet, subscribe. David, have a great weekend, my brother. We will catch up on Tuesday, my friend. Appreciate you.
Sure.
You got it. All right, Welt Rheaume, 954-966. 4646. If you had some issues and you don't know if you have a case or not, the consultation is completely free. So you pick up the phone, you call, Jeff or Dan will answer. Well, secretary will answer, and then they'll get you Jeff or Dan. And then you can explain your situation, and they'll tell you if you've got a case or not. 954-966-4646. Hour number 2 is next. Manny Navarro kicks it off.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.